years preceding the King murder, stalking coverage was everywhere from talk shows to the New York Times. Teresa Saldana was lobbying against the prison release of her knife-wielding attacker. A 28-year-old shipping clerk sent more than 5,000 threatening letters to Michael J. Fox. David Letterman dodged visitations from Margaret Ray. There were stalking stories about Johnny Carson and Janet Jackson and local DJs and TV news people and folks who hardly qualified for Andy Warhol's 15 minutes of fame. At times, it seemed America was paying a price for its worship of celebrity. But public figure obsession also had been one of the entertainment and TV industry's best-kept secrets. Reporting the phenomena only encouraged it, the conventional wisdom went for many years. That philosophy changed in 1989. Behind the scenes, new research for the Department of Justice was fueling the star-stalker flap in the mass media. The study was conducted by Newport Beach psychiatrist Park Dietz, one of the country's leading criminal experts. Dr. Dietz led the psychiatric team in the prosecution of John Hinckley. The psychiatrist delineated the stalking phenomenon by studying the files of Gavin DeBecker, a Hollywood security expert who provided protection and threat assessments for dozens of top Hollywood stars. Both Dietz and DeBecker gave interviews around the country for 2 years, helping lobby for new statutes. In 1990, California passed the country's first stalking law. More than 40 states have followed. Michigan did not have a stalking law when Diane Newton King was killed. And Battle Creek, the western Michigan city where she worked, was not a city known for obsessive pathology, but for the American quest for healthy breakfasts. In 1991, metropolitan Battle Creek was Michigan's third largest city geographically, but had a population that hardly exceeded 90,000. Its roots remained solidly agrarian. Kellogg's, the Post Division of General Foods, and Ralston Purina were still the main employers. Ralston's grain silos, as well as office buildings, defined the modest downtown skyline. City limits gave way to rural countryside rather than suburban sprawl. Celebrity sickness seemed to have hit the heartland with the murder of the city's most popular anchorwoman. This became only more poignant when I drove out to the nearby small town where Diane, her 2 preschool children, and her husband, Bradford J. King, lived. The headline in the Marshall Chronicle read, "Diane King harassed by letters, phone calls." It was topped by, "Music boosters plan spaghetti supper. See page 2. Marshall, Michigan was typical of small-town America. The town of hospitality, as the town of 6,900 calls itself, was also much more than that. The former stagecoach stop midway between Detroit and Chicago is a Midwestern testimony to the pursuit of excellence, when it comes to appearances at least. Named after John Marshall, the first Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, the town was so sure it would be the state's capital in 1839, a white pillared governor's mansion was built on the town's high ground overlooking the Kalamazoo River. The district became known as Capitol Hill. But one vote in the state Senate put the capital in Lansing in 1847. However, Marshall prospered as a trade and farming center for the lower region of the state. Now, much of the town is a National Historic Landmark District. There are 46 historical markers at last count. The coming of the Michigan Central Railroad inspired the nation's first railroad union and launched a 30-year building boom that ceased just in time to preserve Marshall's small-town character. A lawyer and a minister conceived the state's public education system under a local oak tree in Marshall. A runaway slave named Admad Crosswhite was tracked down in Marshall by Southern bounty hunters in 1846, but town elders refused to turn over the fugitive. But visitors didn't need markers to find Marshall's classic heritage on its maple-lined streets. Historians consider the town one of the nation's foremost representations of the best in small-town American architecture, its designs brought west by New Englanders who settled many of Michigan's communities. Today, Marshall's biggest event is its annual house tour, which draws people from around the United States to walk through meticulously kept Victorians, Queen Anne's, Gothic revivals, Italianates, Carpenter Gothics, Romanesques, and Tuscan and Italian villas. I don't know you. What house do you...